We've used sprites. We've taken the sprites that they have. This lesson here, and your second lesson this week, is about creating your very own sprite and about using other backdrops. And the last lesson, you made a backdrop. It was pretty simple. It was a big blue square and a green line. I don't know if you made something different on yours, but it was a simple backdrop. Now we're going to do that. So first thing, I'm going to get rid of the cat sprite. And I'm going to make my own sprite. To do that, I'm going to go down here to the sprite button. And I'm going to go to where it says paint. And that's going to bring me up a sprite. And I'm going to call this sprite something. I'm going to call him Froggy because I'm kind of addicted. So I'm going to make a sprite called Froggy. And I'm going to make Froggy, of course, he's going to be green. So I'm going to find some greens. Let's see if I can find some decent Froggy greens. It looks like a good Froggy green. These are my tools, and there's a bunch of tools that come available depending on what you're using. So first thing I'm using here is I'm using the circle tool. The circle and the square tool work the same, except froggies aren't good with squares. If you made a tank, your tank would probably use some squares. In this video, I don't care what your sprite is. You're going to have to make at least 3 costumes for your sprite. And I'm going to show you how easy that is. So let me make my Froggy. Oh, I wanted him to have an outline. I wanted him to have black outline. There we go. Okay, so I think that did it. So there's my sprite. Not really the best outline. I'm going to make that a little thicker by changing that there. Now I'm happier. Not completely happy. I'm very happy. Now, honestly, I'm just going to reuse this sprite continuously. One, it has the color and it has everything else figured. I could do them individually, but I don't need to. I'm just going to hit Control-C, Control-V. Now I'm going to take this sprite, and you'll notice their things are pretty much the same as everyone else. You've got some functions up here. You can flip them backward, forward. You can turn front, back. You can flip horizontal. You can throw it away. You can copy, paste. I'm going to turn this one a little sideways like this, and then I'm going to squish it. I'm going to stick it on top of him. Whoops, that's a little too big of a head for my Froggy. I don't want my Froggy to lose his mind. So there's my Froggy's head. I'm going to make me a couple circles, and I'm going to make them white. So I'll go up here to fill. And you can play with these things. I'm going to run it all the way to the left for saturation and brightness all the way to this, and it gives me a white. And I'm going to keep that black outline. I'm going to make some eyeballs. So I made one. I'll copy him. Control, click here. You do have to remember to click the tools. Control-C, Control-V. Stick my eyeballs fairly close together. Then I'm going to select them both, and I'm going to put them where I want on Froggy. So there they are on Froggy. Not quite complete. They need pupils. So again, circle tool, but this time I'm going to get a fill that's all the way to the other side. That's black. I'm going fast. You're going to have to play with these on your own. I'm going to Control-C, Control-V again. I'll move this guy over. Now, I kind of wish this had some align tools, but it doesn't really. So I can see they look pretty good aligned. I'm going to move them over a little bit. How's that? Okay, so now my Froggy's staring that away. I can actually play with that. In fact, I will. So my Froggy needs a mouth. I'm going to use my paintbrush for that. And, of course, my fill is going to be all the way here red. And I'm going to paint a decent mouth on him. That works for me. Now, here goes the fun stuff. So I want my frog to have arms and legs. I'm going to make him do a little dance. So to do that, I'm actually going to Control-C the big body and Control-V. And I'm going to do one of the coolest things they have here, and this is the Reshape Tool. With the Reshape Tool, you can squish parts of the body up, or parts of the shape up. So here I have this cool shape. I'm going to squish it up kind of like this. And that works for my leg, my first leg. Okay, I don't really like that leg. That leg's a little big. I'm just going to shrink it up this way. Once I've made a leg and it works for me, I'm going to copy and paste it, Control-C, Control-V. And here's the great thing up here, they have a flip button. So I'm just going to flip it the other way. And now I can stick his leg on there on the other side. Now he's got two legs. I'm going to do the same thing I did before, Control C, Control V. It's kind of cool how I just keep reusing that. I'm going to reshape this to make my arms. Whoops. Whoa. I lost my mind there. I'm going to reshape this to make my arms. That was weird. So here I go, reshaping my arms. Got kind of a mess going down here at the bottom. Okay, I'm good with that. Now I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to turn it. Now, my arms aren't perfect. Well, actually, they're pretty big, so let's shrink them down a little bit. So now I got an arm. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to Control C, Control V, and because a lot of figures have left or right, I can flip it horizontal. Now, I roughly have a Froggy Sprite. He looks like he's been doing weightlifting on his arms and not his legs, but he'll do fine for right now. So now I have my Sprite. I'm actually going to save it. Saved it. I'm going to call this one the Froggy Dance, because that's what I'm going to make him do. I'm going to make him dance like a froggy. So Froggy Dance. So I've made this. Avoid this button. Bad button. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to right-click on Costume 1, and I'm going to duplicate. So now I got two costumes. They look exactly the same. There's no change when I click back and forth. On Costume 2, I'm going to do a little change here. So I'm going to move his eyes a little over. I'm going to swing his arms up a little bit, and I have to adjust them kind of everywhere. Do the same thing with his legs. I'll make him kick out like to the side here. So here's my first costume. Here's my second costume. You don't want them to be too dramatic between them. I'm going to take that and I'm going to make a third costume. So I'm going to duplicate it again. And my third costume, oops, wrong button. Click that. I'm going to move my eyes a little more over. I'm going to move this hand farther up. I'm going to bring this hand in just because I can. I'm going to bring this leg farther up because he's really getting into it. This leg's going to move a little bit more. So he'll do. So here's my costume 1, costume 2, costume 3. He's moving out, right? Now, honestly, this works. 3 costumes. The only problem is if I go like we were doing with the other one, if I went from costume 3 to costume 1, it's unnatural. But if I duplicate costume 2 again, so I'm going to duplicate again and then move that new costume down to the bottom, I end up with 3. So the costume 2 and costume 4 are really the same costume. Costume 1 and costume 3 are the different ones. So now I've got it. Let's do some, and make sure I save. So let's make Froggy Dance. The code is pretty easy if you remember. We're going to change costumes. So I'm just going to do a next costume. I need an amount of time. How long do I want to wait for the next change? Let's try it at 0.4. Let's see what happens to him. I want him to do this forever. I just want him to do it forever, and I want to do it as soon as I pitch the green flag. So let's see what it looks like. He's a little slow. Let's speed him up. So 0.2. There we go. That's a happier dance. Look at that frog go. All right, we're going to stop him. So right now I got this big, huge sprite up here, and I'm not worried about his size yet. In fact, if you make him small to start with, it's much harder. Making him big, it's easier to shrink him. I want a background. Now, before this video, I went on and I downloaded like a frog scene, and then I went and modified it using Pixlr, which you can and you know how to do, or you can use another tool to modify it. So I have that, and I'm going to go down here and I'm going to go to the upload a backdrop. You can actually upload sprites. So if you're good in Pixlr or that, and you save those images as pings, meaning they don't bring in a background, you can make some great sprites out of some natural stuff. You can take your little sister's face and make it go happy, 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 sad, 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 happy, 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 sad, sad, sad. Use your powers for good, not evil. Let's go get the background that I saved already, and it's right there called Pond. And I load it up. It's looking good. I'm looking over here. It kind of fits. It's a little small, but I don't. Whoops. Control Z. Don't touch things in there because it's just like everything else. You can do things. So I've got Pond over here. Now I look at my Froggy, and he's a little big. I mean, if I make him dance right now in that pond, he's a little oversized. And when they're huge like that, you'll see more flaws. But if I shrink him down, and I'm going to shrink him down half size, so 50%, I'm going to shrink that Froggy down and put him over here on a rock. And now, when I make him play, he looks a little more natural. He's happy to be there by the pond. If only he had a fish or a fly. So there's your goal. This lesson, you're going to make your own sprite. He must have at least 3 costumes, but you saw where costume 2 and costume 4 become the same. Your sprite can be an animal, it can be a plant, it can be a pair of scissors, it can be a tank, it can be a car bumping down the road. It's kind of up to you. Have fun with it. And more so when you get to add your own backdrop, it really allows you to really enjoy this. Good luck.